Hello and welcome to today's video presentation on using the IP command on Oracle Linux 8. This video aims to provide information about using the IP command to collect and set network details for Oracle Linux 8. So let us get started. In this exercise, the host system is a fully patched Oracle Linux 8 instance on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. This instance also has a secondary VNIC added for use in this demonstration. Additional information on virtual cloud networks and attaching VNICs to an instance is outside this video's scope, but available in our Oracle Cloud content located at oracle.com/go/Linux Cloud Learning. Start by opening a terminal and connect to your host system. The IP command is a Linux utility for system and network administrators to configure network interfaces. It is important to note that any network changes made using the IP command do not persist across system reboots. Start by getting a list of the system's network devices and their link layer information by typing IP link show. The output displays the loopback device, ENS3 primary NIC, ENS5 secondary NIC, and a few others. We will focus on the secondary NIC, ENS5, for the remainder of this video to avoid disrupting our active network connection. To show the link layer information for a single device, type IP link show dev ENS5. It displays the device status, MTU, MAC address, and other layer link information. To get statistics such as receive and transmit for this device, type IP -S link LS ENS5. To display a listing of only active and running devices, type IP link LS up. Besides gathering data, the IP link command can take a network device online and offline. Since the ENS5 device is already online, take it offline by typing IP link set ENS5 down. The command fails to run as it needs elevated privileges. Running the IP command as root or using sudo is required when configuring or modifying the network device's status. Try again by typing sudo IP link set ENS5 down. Running IP link show dev ENS5 confirms the device is offline as indicated by the missing up status. Bring the device online by typing sudo IP link set ENS5 up. Running IP link show dev ENS5 will again show the status is up. For more details on the IP link command options, type IP link help. With the IP link command covered, we can move on to the IP ADDR or IP address command. Type the command IP ADDR or IP A or IP ADDR show to get a listing of network devices and their IP address information. To show the information for a single device, type IP ADDR show dev ENS5. Besides providing the IP address, the previous commands also demonstrate how to use abbreviations for the IP command options. Using abbreviations saves typing extra keystrokes once familiar with the syntax of the commands. The IP ADDR command also allows the adding and deleting of a device's IP address. To demo this functionality, stop the ENS5 device by typing sudo IP link set ENS5 down. Verify the device is down by typing IP ADDR show dev ENS5 and checking the status. Next, remove the assigned IP address by typing sudo IP ADDR del 10.0.32.6/24 dev ENS5. Then type IP ADDR show dev ENS5 to see the IP address is no longer assigned. Assign an IP address back to the system by typing sudo space IP space ADDR space add space 10.0.32.18 /24 space dev space ENS5. Confirm the assignment by typing IP space ADDR space show space dev space ENS5. Restart the ENS5 device by typing sudo space IP space link space set space ENS5 space up. Check that the connection is working by typing ping space -c space 3 space -I space ENS5 space 10.0.32.2, sending 3 packets to the network's default gateway. The packets fail. The packets fail because the ENS5 interface is associated with an Oracle Cloud Infrastructure VNIC. That VNIC has a predefined IP address of 10.0.32.6 and not the IP address we assigned of 10.0.32.18. Fix the IP address assignment by stopping the network device again, removing the current IP address, and adding the correct address. Test the network and it should be working again. The last 2 IP commands we cover in this video is IP route and IP neigh. The IP route command allows a network administrator to view and modify the network routing table. To see all the routes, type IP space route space list. The line starting with 10.0.32.0 / 24 defines the route for the ENS5 network. To determine the route taken for a specific IP address, such as the ENS5 gateway 10.0.32.2, type IP space route space get space 10.0.32.2. The output displays the route will travel through device ENS5 as expected, whereas typing IP space route space get space 192.168.30.1 shows the packets are going through ENS3 and its default gateway of 192.168.2.1. Lastly, the IP neigh command displays the neighbor entries, also called ARP Address Resolution Protocol tables. To show the neighbor tables, type IP space neigh space show. The output shows the MAC addresses of devices that are part of the system and their state. For ARP tables, the state of a device can be one of 4 values. The state of reachable signifies a valid reachable entry until the timeout expires. A value of permanent signifies an everlasting entry that only an administrator can remove. The state of stale signifies a valid yet unreachable entry. The Linux kernel checks a stale device's state at the first transmission. A value of delay signifies that the kernel is still waiting for validation from the stale entry. The IP route and the IP neigh commands have other command options to manipulate the routing or ARP table, but covering those options is outside this video's scope. Beyond the IP command, Oracle Linux 8 has a few additional network tools useful to system and network administrators. The ARPing command sends ARP requests to a neighbor host. The ease tool command controls network driver and hardware settings. And lastly, the SS command displays socket statistics. One way of using these tools is to use SS to determine the active SSH sessions on a system by typing SS space pipe space grep space -I space SSH. That completes this video introduction on using the IP command and a few other networking utilities. Learn more about the IP command and other networking tools syntax by reviewing the manual pages and help commands listed at the end of this video. Thank you for watching this video and enjoy using Oracle Linux 8. Please check our additional information on Oracle Linux 8 in the Oracle Linux 8 documentation or Oracle Linux Learning Library.